Hey now, welcome to Fitz's Electric Bar. Look who I've got with me. It's Todd, Lost Mixtapes.
Hey everyone, happy to do this with you, Fitz.
Well, thank you for joining.
Yeah,
We've said this before, but I feel kind of a kinship with you because I think we started really within weeks of each other, and that
yeah,
was kind of cool.
very cool. Yeah, I've been watching your stuff from the beginning, and yeah, it's been really nice.
Likewise. So maybe tell our viewers where you're based.
I'm based in Seattle. I've moved around quite a bit in my adult life, but I've wound up in Seattle, and I've been here. It's hard to believe now, like 4.5 years. I live outside of Seattle. I did live in Seattle. Now I live kind of in between Seattle and Tacoma, trying kind of giving suburban life a try. I'm not really sure it's working out. We'll probably end up, back near a city soon, but. Yeah.
Good. It's a cautionary tale, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried everything else. Like, okay, we're both such city people. We're like, well, what if, I don't know, what if we tried living in the suburbs for a while?
What if you guys get a farm or something and you
I
become
know,
a
hey, that could
farmer?
be next, or small town. We haven't really done a small town either. But
Um, so we talked about when you started, or that we started our channels around the same time, but when did you start your channel?
boy, when did I start my channel? I th I think it's been like 2.5 years. I know I did some videos. Yeah, I would guess it's been about 2.5 years. I remember I did some videos um, probably going on close to 3 years ago. I just did a bunch of them, or maybe three of them, and I sat on them for about 5 months. I was like, do I really want to do this, But then around, I think it was probably around November of that year. So maybe, what year is it now? Maybe we're talking about 2022, I think. Yeah, I think like November 22-ish is probably when I started. So.
And what was it that motivated you to start a channel?
Well, I have the good fortune of knowing Mazzy, Norman Maslov. I started dating the archivist, who at the time had a roommate, and I'm like, "Who is this roommate that you have? Should I be worried about it? You have a guy roommate? Okay, he's a little older. Okay." But then once, I was just kind of ridiculous thinking back on it, and then I meet him and he's Mazzy. And that's an interesting story with her too, how she wound up in Seattle. It's kind of an accident. She came to visit him for an extended period of time. They've been friends for like 20 years. The pandemic hit. She was between jobs and she was like, well, he's like, why don't you just stay for a while? So anyway, we ended up meeting, and that's how I met Mazzy, and it was really an inspiration just watching him and this channel. And I mean, I'm always looking for people to talk music with, and I felt like I'd lost that in recent years. Maybe moving around a little bit or meeting people, and maybe our interest wasn't really aligned around music or not the same way, and more work. And so it was really refreshing to talk music with him, of course, the archivist, Amanda. And then yeah, he mentioned I remember there was some event where it was Rachel's ghost was involved. I don't know, an anniversary for her maybe. And I think she had said it too. Maybe she had her own channel. So I started thinking about it, and eventually I did it. So yeah.
What what has your experience been like having a channel, and in particular, what surprise or surprises have you found having had the channel?
I mean, part of why I did it was, yeah, to talk about music, but also to get comfortable in front of the camera. I try to do various sort of business related things, and I just never felt quite right. And I was like, the one thing for sure that I can do is talk about music. So I was like, well, maybe, that'll probably be good for me. And I mean, it's been great. Just I feel like I'm totally myself for one thing, but then just meeting other people. Um, I find that I mean, the comments are great. I love the interaction. I love the other VCers, I know community YouTubers. And yeah, I feel like I just never quite run out of things to talk about. I'm gonna stress about it a little bit, like what am I gonna do this week? But it's really the community and just the shared love of music. I mean, it's great to turn somebody on to music. It's great to be turned on to music. It's great to feel that somebody values this. I mean, I used to call it like totally useless knowledge. Like I have all of this knowledge, but it's kind of useless, right? Unless you meet somebody who's the same way, and then you can just talk for hours. So I don't know. I was amazed how comfortable it was, and I still, yeah, I still enjoy it quite a bit. Obviously, still do it, and um, yeah, I like the community. I feel like I know you, right? And we've only met through our channels, and only recently, what was that? Maybe 3 or 4 months ago did we chat like this. So yeah, it's been really nice.
Nice. And what other major interests do you have in your life? What are the things you spend your time doing?
I mean, creativity is a big one for me. You know, music, of course, my own creativity. I mean, play guitar, I write songs. I work on occasionally work on like writing projects. I wrote a first draft of a novel. It's very messy, but I plan on going back and getting into that and doing a new draft of that and hopefully maybe someday publishing that. So a lot of creative endeavors, but also, enjoy obviously listening to music. Like I don't go to very many shows anymore, unfortunately. I mean, I think that's going to ramp up a little bit, but yeah, going to shows, going to see movies. I mean, we watch a ton of movies, a lot of serial uh, television series, stuff like that. Love being outside. I mean, the great thing about living here is it's just absolutely beautiful. I joke around that Seattle is a gorgeous city if you can see it, you know. But this is the time of year. I mean, so yeah, it's great being outside and doing stuff like that too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, 10 questions.
All right, here we go.
Here we go. So number one, what record are you listening to a lot these days? I would call it a front of the pile record.
For a while, it still is kind of Pink Floyd live at Pink or at Pompeii. Just just devoured that. But in the past week, it's really been REM's Collapse Into Now. One probably my favorite band and their last record. But there's something magical that happens about distance. When a record is 12 years old and it's no longer just a follow-up to something, or it's like, oh no, this is or oh no, or great, this is the band's latest offering, and you can be super critical about it because you've been waiting all this time and maybe you're let down by it. That record in the last week or so has just completely blown me away as like a standalone, like, wow, this is really good, backing away from it and coming back. And honestly, a lot of that came about through some comments on my older REM videos on YouTube. People commenting about their later records and how people that make such a mistake just kind of writing them off after, I used to like them until Document or until Phil Berry left or whatever it is. So really I've been enjoying playing that record. It's a very positive record too. So yeah.
Awesome. Tell me a favorite concert experience.
Oh, I feel like I just thought of something and I was going to share it on my channel and now I can't remember. Favorite concert experience. Why am I drawing a blank? Let me just think about some. Well, I can tell you. Yeah, favorite one for sure. And I probably mentioned this before, but seeing Springsteen on Broadway. When that happened, when all the tickets went on sale, I thought, hey, if I can get a ticket, I'll go to New York and I'll see this. And, didn't realize quite how high the tickets were going to be, but I also couldn't find them. I couldn't get any. Then I happened to be in New York City for a work thing. And I remember thinking before I got there that I should look into it and told a coworker too. And I'd completely forgotten about it, just super busy. The last night I was there, uh, she said, "Hey, I think I mentioned it again, or maybe she mentioned it." And I said, "Yeah, I should really look into that." And it was just me. Nobody else was interested. But I went on StubHub because I was not going to pay like 850 bucks. There's no way. But I was on StubHub and I kept refreshing it. And as I got closer and closer in the cab, the prices started dropping. And then I was researching and realizing that you had to print your ticket. You couldn't show a digital one. I got there, I'm trying to make this short, but I got there, um, was standing outside and was looking for anybody selling something while I'm monitoring my phone and seeing these prices just slowly go down. Um, I talked to the box office and they're like, yeah, actually, we do have some tickets. I'm like, holy crap. Okay, great. But they're trying to charge me like 500, 450, I think, for a ticket. And I was just like, what? That's a going price? I thought that was just like, second market. So I'm a little disappointed in that. And I start seeing people line up because I think the show started at 7:30. This is probably 6:45-ish now. And everybody looks like they're about to have an amazing time. And nobody's coming forward like they have a ticket at all. And I continue to watch, and had done all my research. And when I was in the cab, figured out where the Kinko's was because I had to print it. And then the ticket went down to, and this is still a lot of money. The ticket went down to, I believe it was 350. And then I do this little rationalization, right? I'm like, if somebody told me that they had a free ticket to Springsteen and all I had to do was just get to New York City, I'd get to New York City. And you know what, how much that flight would cost? About 350 bucks. I already am here. I didn't pay for the flight. What am I? Let's just go do this. So I pull the trigger. I buy it off StubHub. And then I run to Kinko's, and then of course I have all kinds of printing problems. Nobody's there to help me. It's like 7:15, 7:20. Having trouble with the printer, having trouble finding anybody. When I do get into StubHub, I my password wasn't accepted. I didn't have it written down with me. It wasn't in my phone, so then I have to like restart it, or password change, wait for the email to come through. And then when I do get through, the ticket won't get released. And I'm like, what is going on? So I'm trying to like get help with the printing. Um, Maybe that came slightly afterwards. With StubHub, I'm trying to get them to release the ticket. And I'm like talking so fast but so clearly. I'm outside a Bruce Springsteen concert. I just bought this ticket. The show is starting in 2 minutes. I need to print this right now. And they put me on hold, and I'm afraid I'm going to be on hold forever. Finally, someone picks up, and they're super helpful. And they release the ticket. I can't remember what their excuse was for holding the ticket. They release it. Then I have the printing problems. Eventually, I get somebody. Eventually, I print it, and then I'm running down Broadway or right off Broadway to the Shubs Theater, I think, or I can't remember. Walter Theater. Um, Running towards it, and I get there, and I'm like, "Has the show started?" And the guy's like, "He just went on stage. Wait right here." And it was like, I think, "Growing Up," the first song. It's the same show that's on Netflix too. But once that song was over and his storytelling was over for that song, the clapping started. He escorts me to the balcony right above the stage, and I'm looking down at the stage. I'm looking right at him, and the show was phenomenal. It was absolutely magic. I loved every second of it. And in fact, when it was over, the strangers around me, we were hugging each other because we were just so profoundly moved. It was an incredible experience and worth every penny, and great story too. So
That's a great story. I
yeah.
think it must have added to your enjoyment of it because it seems like you clutched victory from the jaws of defeat.
Yes, yes. And now I just cannot imagine not seeing that. Like that. And it was so inspiring. I mean, I rode that wave of inspiration for a while after seeing that. Yeah.
Great story. Thank you for sharing that. You
Yeah.
and I both love our concert stories and memories, and
Yeah.
I think we've talked before about how we don't get the views or the interest that we probably would hope for, but I love hearing those stories. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Tell me a favorite Bowie record.
It's so funny that you mentioned Bowie. I'm working on this video and I just listened. I just listened to the last thing I listened to was Never Let Me Down. Um, you said favorite Bowie?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be the favorite, but a favorite Bowie record.
Well, recently, you know, I bought Black Star when it came out. I was listening to it all weekend, and then of course he died on I think Sunday night, and the songs were fresh in my head. I mean, they were in my head when I heard the news, so it was kind of crazy. And I bought that record on vinyl again after buying on CD, and I listened to it recently, and it kind of blew me away. Um, it's a it's a really cool record. I mean, it's haunting. And it's really interesting to listen to. I mean, there's a lot going on. I like the jazzy elements. And I'd forgotten about it to some extent, forgotten about a lot of the songs. But for me, let's see, as far as like, I mean, I still love the Hunky Dory and the Ziggy Stardust. I mean, that's my favorite era. Um, and then, just because the age I was or whatever, when I hear Let's Dance on the radio, I mean I never get sick of those songs off of that album. Um, Modern Love, that song. Maybe Blue Jean off the one after that. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. One of the saddest, sorry, one of the saddest songs ever. I got choked up for clamped.
Saddest songs ever. Yeah, it just popped in my head. John Lennon, Mother. I mean, you know the story, like he lost his mother at a young age, and it's just so raw, and that just the screaming at the end. I mean, the primal therapy or whatever, or primal scream, whatever you want to call it. I mean, just raw emotion, almost uncomfortable. You almost want to like look away, but it's so powerful and sad. I think there's definitely a real sadness there. I mean, he's it's a part of him that was maybe, and he probably felt never he was never complete maybe for a long time because of that loss.
One of the most joyful songs ever.
Um, What a Wonderful World, Louis Armstrong. There's something about that song that just stops me in my tracks every time. I don't have it. I don't have it in a collection. I don't know if I've even intentionally ever played it, but whenever it comes on, it just kind of like stops me in my tracks, and I'm just like, it just makes you feel good, you know. So yeah, I guess I'll go with that today.
Right.
Yeah.
It's you get up in the morning, your partner's not at home, you've got the house to yourself, and what's the perfect first record of the day you might put on?
Pixies, Doolittle.
Doolittle.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. They just rock. There's something about the Pixies. That or the Replacements. I mean, the one that comes to mind right now for me would Pleased to Meet Me. And I could see that one too. Just crank that one up and yeah, roll.
Yeah, I think I started off many days with Nevermind.
Oh yeah, the song.
Yeah,
Yeah, oh yeah. Such a great song.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's nothing like it's almost like the first track of an album that, really does it for you. It's just that it kicks off the album, it kicks off the day.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Um, for you, one of the most underrated bands or artists ever.
I feel like if you go out and you see some local bands and there's all these like local hero band. There's all these bands that are just so good in cities that just never quite rise to the attention of maybe even getting on a label where you're just like, these guys are so good. Why does the whole world not know about them? So sometimes I think about that stuff. I think about this guy that in Minneapolis, Dylan Hicks. He was absolutely amazing. He was like Elvis Costello. I mean, I say was. I think he's still making music, but just the songs he would write and the humor and the live shows were just amazing. It was incredible to be in the audience, and it felt like such a secret. You're like, how does the whole world not know about this? Run Westy Run, another local band in Minneapolis that kind of did that for me too. I don't think they ever quite translated right on record, but live it was absolutely amazing. I can think of a band like Wussy out of Cincinnati that are like that. They're just some of the songs, some of those albums are so great. You're just like, how come I go to a record store and there's never even a section or their records aren't even in there? You have to like mail order them all. I mean, that just seems obscene to me. So yeah, there's I think if you look at any local scene, you can find those bands and uh, yeah, yeah, for sure.
Great, thank you. Van Morrison or Jackson Brown?
Van Morrison. Absolutely. Jackson Brown. I used to like Jackson Brown. I mean, I shouldn't say I don't like Jackson Brown. I like Jackson Brown. Um, he just doesn't. I always think I'm gonna get into like Late for the Sky or I'm gonna get into his first album, and I find myself liking more, I guess, the compilations. They never those albums. I mean, I knew The Pretender from being like a kid, and I remember I bought or I won actually late. No, not Late for the Sky. Uh what's that one? Lies in the Balance. I won that off a radio station. I remember that like '87 or something. He used to get real lucky with radio station giveaways. But yeah, I never really got into him. I respect him. These Days, I think, is an amazing song. He's definitely a great songwriter. Van Morrison, I listen to a lot more for sure. A little problematic in his later years, but yeah, I feel like he's an artist I could go a lot deeper into too. I mean, I look forward to. There's a few albums that are regarded as very, very good that I still have not really explored. So I'm excited about that.
He has a deep catalog, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure.
Joni Mitchell or Aretha Franklin?
Aretha. I respect Joni a lot. I got to see her at Jazz Fest in New Orleans. Uh, when would that have been? Probably 1995, I think, when Sex Kills was her new single. And I got to see her open up for Dylan once. I mean, I respect her as a songwriter. I've never really taken to her. Her voice prevents me from getting into it the way I would like to. And maybe someday it'll change. That certainly happened with other artists for me. Like someday it just all clicks. Aretha, I love Aretha. I love putting on those classic Aretha records. Great Sunday morning records. Um, yeah, she's a force, and I love the ways those are produced. Using the Muscle Shoals uh, bands. Yeah, really cool stuff.
And finally, three absolute must-have records to take to a desert island.
Um, I feel like I've done this a few times now. I'm spacing on what those would be. Absolute must-haves. I feel like you gotta have a Dylan in there. Now, then it's like which one? Um, for me, wow, which one would it be? It might be Blood on the Tracks. And I've been on such a Floyd kick lately. I feel like there's got to be a Floyd record in there, probably Dark Side. And what else? Absolute must-haves. Do most people pause like this and take a little while?
Everybody has their pause moments.
Um, I've said this before. I think maybe like a compilation of like the folkways, like American folk music compilation, or all of uh, Robert Johnson's collection. Something where you can bring a guitar and you can teach yourself these songs and kind of go some places. But as far as strictly a record, I don't know why it's popping in my head, but right now the Soft Bulletin, Flaming Lips, I think would be a really nice one to have too. It's just so positive and for the most part, it just sounds so epic. I'm hoping I have a really nice stereo there,
Yeah.
on that island.
Needless to say, that would be a requirement. Okay, the final five,
Yeah, all right.
plus a bonus one or two because I can never keep myself contained by what I say I'm going to do. But
Yeah.
okay, first one. This is actually one that I've been asking a lot of people recently. I wished I'd included it in my initial 10, but um, if you were to be dropped into a music scene from the past, and I'll give you some examples. I want you to pick which scene you would most enjoy being dropped into. So could be like Hamburger, that's right, Hamburg 60 to 62,
Uh-huh.
Laurel Canyon and the whole singer-songwriter thing and outside LA and Joni Mitchell and Neil Young and CSN, etc. UK punk scene in London, the initial flash of that. So the Stranglers, Clash, Damned, all that kind of stuff. New York City CBGBs, so Blondie, Television, Talking Heads, New York Dolls, all that kind of
Yeah,
scene.
yeah.
Or fill in the blank with a scene that you would have loved to have been a part of.
The first one that comes to mind would be like Athens, Georgia, which I think would be really cool, although a little small, maybe. I don't know. New York would be hard to argue with at that time. You know, Patti Smith, Television, the Ramones, Talking Heads, all that, all those bands. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Although, yeah, I don't know. It depends on how I look at it. If I look at it from like creative, if I'm part of the, sorry, I've got the window here open. It's getting a little loud, but my neighbor, every time I'm doing anything, I feel like it's time to bring out the truck. Uh, yeah, yeah, it would be tough between Athens, Georgia, and New York City in the 70s, late 70s, mid to late 70s.
Perfect. By the way, New York City, I don't know if we talked about this before, but if you ever get a chance, a book that I thought was great, especially covering that New York City era and CBGBs, is Thurston Moore's autobiography. He's like really young, and I think he was coming in from his family in Connecticut or something, and just being almost like terrified by what was going on, seeing Suicide and a few other sort of like
Oh, really?
really out there bands in New York City, and going to Maxwell's and CBGB's, and it's really well written about what that was like for a really young kid.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to read.
I think you'd like it. So you're a Nick Cave fan.
Hmm. Seeing him on Monday.
I'm going to see him on Sunday.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice, very
looking
cool.
forward to it. So this is one of those questions that's kind of ridiculous, but can you describe what are the qualities of Nick Cave's music that makes him a favorite of yours?
Um, I think now some of his stuff I can't say that I always understand where he's coming from. Some, especially the earlier Bad Seeds, some of the material it's a little too literal sometimes. I'm like, takes me a little while to really figure out what he's talking about. But I think the records that resonate with me the most is you just feel like he is in it 100%. And I get that so when you see him live, I don't know if I've ever seen a performer who is more there. Every word. You don't think his mind doesn't seem to be drifting at all about what might be backstage or what he might have for dinner or what he's doing the next night or oh my God, I'm so sick of singing this song again. It just feels like he's in it completely. But as much as I just said, like some of the stuff gets lost to me in the early birthday party or Nick Cave and the Bad Seed stuff. I love that literary value that he has. And I would say for me, the sweet spot or when it becomes really interesting for me is probably in some ways, I guess, uh, Let Love In on, but even more so once he did Boatman's Call. I feel like after that, just he hit a whole new level of intimacy, of realness, of less kind of dark, gothic, biblical stories and more things you could sort of relate to and get a lot out of. And conceptually, I love the way he approaches things. I mean, the guy's real serious. He takes it very seriously. Used to go to his office every day, sit down on a computer, and like the first song he wrote would sometimes be the first song on the record, and just write the lyrics out and all that. You just feel like you're really getting something when you get a record from him. He's always seems to be making some sort of statement, or um, you can just tell what's really on his mind when you listen to a record, and it resonates. I mean, those songs are some of them, I mean, they can be like really fun and like kind of ridiculous, like Stagger Lee, which I hope he plays live again. He did last time I saw the Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds anyway. And then you can get just absolute transcendent beauty, songs like Into My Arms or uh, a lot of those songs that Push the Sky Away do that for me. Yeah, I think he is very serious about it. He's an artist in every word, and he brings in the right people, and he's not going through the motions at all. I think if Nick Cave had a record due and he didn't have any inspiration, he'd have no problem telling the record company where to go. Um, yeah, I
Fantastic.
think this kind is very rare.
I love your description. I also, when I ask these questions to people, when I do it, it also to me it really reveals what you value as a person.
Yeah, yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, yeah.
Um, so this is, I think, appropriate for you. You're making a mixtape, going back to
Yeah.
some people have cassettes. So you're making a mixtape for a niece or a nephew, and they're not familiar with any of the stuff that you listen to. So you have this opportunity to be able to kind of turn them on to some music. Now, obviously, knowing who they are would shape the music you would put on, but what are some songs that you might put on that tape for a young niece or nephew?
It's interesting because I'm very, very deliberate. I have a niece who's very into music, and I try to like buy a record and sort of like this is something you need in your collection. Um, what are some songs? Well, there'd probably be some Nick Cave songs on there. Um, Into Your Arms would probably be on there. I mean, just these songs that could probably possibly have life with them too, that they'd find meaning in and want to share. I think some of my favorite bands would have to be on there in one way or another. There'd be some REM songs on there. I think I'd probably definitely put some Big Thief. Are you talking about specific songs?
You can talk about artists whose songs might be included.
I think Adrian Lenker and Big Thief for sure. Uh, I think some of these lesser known artists like Big Chestnut, definitely put a couple of Big Chestnut songs in there. And I would maybe hit on some of the greats that, maybe kind of get a collective or a little bit of an eye roll, like, oh, do we really need to hear about Pink Floyd or the Beatles or whatever? But I think I would probably choose songs by those artists that maybe they haven't heard or wouldn't be on the radio. Um, and yeah, Flaming Lips, I know I mentioned them earlier, so I'm going back to kind of what I mentioned earlier. But Tom Waits songs, I think Hold On would be on there. It depends on who the person is. I tend to create more moody, interesting, just kind of where I'm at. I tend to not create a mixtape that just totally rocks, but I would definitely, make sure there's some rock songs on there too. Yeah, that would be a fun challenge to just put some of your favorite songs, things that you think could really move somebody. And yeah, like I said, I think if you could introduce them to a song that could be they could feel some ownership in, not just like, oh, this is what my uncle listens to, but like, oh, this is really cool. I can see how this speaks to me or whatever. That would be the ultimate goal.
I can imagine that when you did mixed tapes and maybe mixed CDs, that the actual creation of it and the thinking about what goes on to the tape is in itself a creative act. It's not just a whole slapdash of songs.
Oh, I was obsessed with that. Oh my God, it's ridiculous. You know, like and even getting the fade perfect or the pause the right length before the next song came in and then
Turn
oh
this C60 back like a quarter turn, right?
oh constantly, yeah, or like then you've only got like 2 minutes and 2 seconds left and what would be the perfect song to put there, and then it just gets totally complicated if you're trying to like impress a girl. We talked, I think you did a video on that. Like oh my God. Yeah, the worst example, and this is not that long ago. I had this made this mix CD, not tape, I guess, for somebody probably 10, 12 years ago. And I had the Courtney Barnett song in there, Pedestrian at Best. And I just thought it was a good song. I was like, you should know, if are not familiar with Courtney Barnett. And so it was just like on there. And then later she's like, are you trying to tell me something? And it's like, I love you, I hate you. I just like, whoa, no. No, I wasn't. I just thought it was a good song. But when I was like in high school or whatever, holy crap, would I obsess over that stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, in a weird way, like if I tried it on, I would be like so happy that the person listened to it to the extent that they would even raise that as a concern.
I know, right? That is cool. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah, you always hope like, okay, what'd you think? What'd you think? I mean, it was the coolest thing. I mean, I wish I had more of them that I made for other people because I did. It was really, really an art. And then later on, once I had jobs where there were photocopiers, I do like little booklets that would have like my liner notes in them, and I would slide it under the cassette. I mean, yeah,
Yeah, and like
maybe.
if you're like me, 3 months later, you'd ask, because you didn't say anything, what'd you think about the liner notes? And they go like, liner notes?
Yeah.
I never pulled that out, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's too
yeah,
bad, but
yeah.
yeah.
Um, Great. That was good. Whom have you never seen, be it an artist or a band, that you would love to see? Now, they could be either a band or an artist that is impossible to see because they passed away, or somebody that you still might have a hope to see.
Mm. I feel like I just had an answer for this too. Um, I am bummed that I never got to see Nirvana. I just moved to Minneapolis for school, and it was in St. Paul, and I'd never been to St. I didn't know my way around at all. I mean, I was freshly there. I didn't know a soul in the city, and I had no idea how to get there or how it all worked there. And so I was like, well, I'll see them next time. So, and that's regarded as the Roy Wilkins Auditorium, St. Paul show on the In Utero tour in 1993 is regarded as one of their best shows. So it's just like, oh crap. But I don't, I don't know. They're not one of those bands that I'm like, oh, I wish I had seen them. Like I beat myself up over it. It's just an interesting story. But, uh, boy, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I feel like I was just like I feel like I'm really glad I know, I think some people think like, oh, you know, you must wish that you were around in like the different scenes you were talking about. I'm like really glad I'm the age I'm at and the shows I got to see and I was the age that I was when I saw them. Sure that the shows that I saw when I was 15 aren't gonna wouldn't resonate the same way for somebody who was 25 at the time or 35, but for me they did, and for me that's my history, and I'm really glad I saw what I saw. So I usually don't think of too many shows like, oh, I wish I had, seen them. Um, but I'm totally spacing.
Are
Like,
you, is there anybody that is actually still touring as far as we know that you kind of feel like you really hope that they'll come through and you'll get a chance to see them?
um, nothing comes to mind, but I feel like an idiot saying that because it's just like I'm just not. I mean, if I was at my record collection or I was scrolling through stuff and saw a bunch of names, I'd be like, that's it. Uh,
I regretted never seeing Leonard Cohen. Of course, that ship has sailed, but I had opportunities and I wished that I had because apparently his last
oh my God, I
tour
saw that.
was, you saw that, right?
Oh my God, it was like being in church. It was phenomenal.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I'm lucky, like I've talked to people like Amanda who lived in the Bay Area at the time, and it was like impossible to get a ticket, and he was playing at a very big place. Like where I saw him, he's playing a theater, and I didn't. I mean, I'm sure I dialed in for tickets or whatever you did at 2008 or 2009 or 2010, whenever it was. Um, but it wasn't impossible, and it wasn't crazy expensive, and it was in a theater, and it was, oh my God, it was unbelievable. I remember thinking, I can't imagine him ever being better than this. Like this isn't seeing someone in their advanced age who's doing some, retread or trying to get back to what they were before. Like the guy's thrilled to be there. He's finding this new audience and he's loving every minute of it. He's tap dancing out on stage. I mean, it's just it was phenomenal, and it did feel like, I mean, I do feel like he was a prophet of our times, and it felt really special, really special. Like yeah, I think I used the word sacred to be in that space with him.
If I'm not mistaken, that tour was known to be like he needed to make money because his manager defrauded him. So he had all the sort of the I guess the preamble or whatever to be doing it just for the money. And as
Yeah.
you say, it was a profound experience, even if he did need the money.
Yeah, he learned to just, I think he just connected with fans on a whole different level. Or, I mean, the guy, I've read a couple biographies of him. I mean, he definitely questioned a lot of his moves and what he was doing, and, would get real frustrated recording records and never want to do it again, and then decide to do it again. And I think he just just found his place in the world maybe for once, and like truly believed that that was what he should be doing. And like, yeah, it was really cool. I love those live albums. I keep wanting to get all of them that came out around of those tours. The live in London, live in Dublin. There's like one or at least one other one. Yeah.
I'm also I may be putting bit of a stretch on this, but I'm also seeing a bit of a through line of between Nick Cave and Leonard Cohen, not necessarily musically, but the sort of the commitment to the moment and being very present in the performance.
I mean, I really go for that. I mean, that's the thing, you know. I guess, you know, sometimes at one point I was like trying to figure out like how I would describe the music I'm into, and it was like emotional music or music that really has the potential to move you, and not just a band rocking out on stage and doing cool solos and like I don't know. It can be great, but you know, there's a reason I love bands like The Replacements, you know, where like Westerberg is just bearing his soul up there, you know, and it's all he's got. It's what he does. And I just love that when I feel that in any artist. I remember seeing what's his name? Daniel Johnston. And you just knew when you saw him up on stage, like that is the reason that guy lives. This means more to him than the world, you know. And there's just something about that I just absolutely love. Not that I can't enjoy like a well-oiled machine that's just up there to entertain, but it's just I don't know. I like it when when I'm pretty sure they're not thinking about what they're gonna do after the show, you know.
Yeah, and it probably sort of stays with you longer than just a good sort of straight out rock and roll show, right?
Yeah. And I think for me, I don't know. I think anybody as they get a little older, sometimes they get a little jaded because they sort of expect something like that. And it's kind of rare, you know. So I try to lower my expectations when I see some shows, you know, just because I don't know. I like it to feel like almost like a religious experience. You know, Jeff Tweedy's talked about that, and I've certainly gotten that from times I've seen him, times I've seen Wilco. But the
You know,
community coming together, the ability to sort of be moved in a profoundly human way. Yeah.
I think the next step down for me would be performances that aren't like that through and through, but maybe there are moments either because of the song and the way that the artist performs a song. Like for me, I like Jason Isbell, but I'm not like all in the way a lot of people are. But when I've seen him, there's usually a few moments in like a few songs or whatever that just leave me just completely breathless, you know.
Oh, same here. That's a perfect example. I'm the same way. I tend to get his albums and really enjoy them, but I'm not. I don't play them that often. I remember Digital Gramophone said that too about him. I admire him a lot. When I've seen him live, I don't always enjoy every bit of the show. I mean, I'm liking it, but when he oh my God, if he does something like Cover Me Up, I am a puddle. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. I mean, it's just crazy how those songs of Southeastern and even later songs like If We Were Vampires, those
Mm.
relationshipy songs, which now he says in his new album, you know, I'm sorry, he sort of apologizes in a lyric for that the meanings of the songs have changed or whatever. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I can't get up and punch the wall or whatever he says anymore, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Um, cool. Yeah, he just I get emotional sometimes at shows too, and I just tell everyone that my allergies are acting up. So
yeah. Usually it's dark, so
that's right. And you know, chicks love it, really.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're tender,
Yeah, exactly.
emotional,
You got
touch with your
depth.
emotions.
Yeah. Um, tell me about a great rock biography or music documentary that maybe somebody might want to read or watch.
I just read the Springsteen book that's being made into a movie, Deliver Me from Nowhere, which I thought was great. I mean, oh my God, and I'd just been on like a major Springsteen kick and did two videos. I kind of want to do a third one on that. Just really, really, I learned so much about the Nebraska period. But after that too, and up to Born in the USA, and knowing after reading that he had like half the record recorded, like masterful, like song Born in the USA and other songs, the exact take were in his back pocket. Well, Nebraska was in his back pocket and they released that. But afterwards, he had all these songs recorded. He falls into this deep depression and like it's just crazy how like the record company too, they're like, okay, well, we'll put this out. And Lando's like, the next thing's going to be huge. And oh, I mean, it's a good narrative arc for I think what that movie's going to be. It's like, okay, he's wrestling with this stuff. He's made this incredibly personal, you know, amazing record that only he could do in a bedroom by himself. And then he's got this thing on the horizon that's going to just completely blow up. Yeah, I love a good music doc or book. What else have I read recently? Um, the Talking Heads one I thought was pretty good. Remain in Love.
Is that the Chris France one?
That one was really good.
Mm.
Yeah. Let me look at my shelf real quickly.
Hmm.
I read the Tolhurst one on The Cure, Cured. That was pretty good. Just great insight just into the band at the beginning and just the magic when it starts working, really working. Trying to think of good documentaries. Um, oh, the Jade Bennett one. I mentioned that on my channel a while ago. I really liked. It made me really appreciate him again after I feel like he got a bad deal. He really did. The way they edited all that in the movie, the Wilco movie.
I'm trying to break your heart.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
just made him look like a jackass, and he really wasn't, you know. And I remember watching that with friends or friends who were new to Wilco. I wasn't. I got on board around the time of AM, definitely being there. But oh, who's this guy? And blah blah blah. It's like that didn't do him justice. And the film and those and it's a great package. You get the two vinyl records. One of them's like all acoustic, and that documentary. And yeah, I loved it. Loved the documentary. That was really good.
Is that documentary, do you know if it's on streaming platforms or only through the purchase of the record?
It was on because I bought it before, or I watched it right before I found the record just in the wild shortly after I watched it. I did pay for it. Somebody that watched my channel told me about it, and I believe I found it on Vimeo, the Vimeo site. I
Mm,
believe it was on there, but you had to pay for it. But
mm,
you know, $5 or something. Um, Great docs. I mean, the Replacements one, Color Me Impressed.
mm.
I had the Crazy Guy. Have you seen that one?
Well, I think I have, but is that the one where they're not given the rights
They're
to
not
play?
in it at all, so it's
Yeah,
really interesting just from
yeah.
that standpoint. And I had one of the guys as a creative writing teacher, which is kind of nuts. Yeah, um, yeah, I love a good. I'm blanking now on great. If you mention a couple, I could probably riff on them, but I'm trying to think of what else.
There was actually quite a good one, although it's almost like emotion porn, which was the Running with Scissors, the Jason Isbell, Amanda Shires.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he was just talking about
Yes.
like his alcoholism and she was helping him, but it kind of felt a little bit weird, like there was some rawness between the two of them as
Burning
well.
with their eyes closed or something. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, I watched that uh, with my partner, and we were both like, "This isn't gonna last." I mean, you know, you can tell, and it's shocking to me when people are like almost mad at him in some ways for ending it. It's like the writing was on the wall on that, and that was filmed two albums before, about the sessions for two albums before the one that's out now. So it's like, okay, that's brewing for quite a while, you know, some issues there. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's a little uncomfortable to watch for sure.
it is.
Yeah.
The other one that I really love, actually, in the Wilco vein, I mean, I enjoyed, even though I understand your perspective about Jay Bennett getting a raw deal, but the other one is The Ashes of American Flags. I don't know if you've seen that one.
I forgot it. I have that somewhere too. I
It's
bought it.
more musical than
Like
documentary.
his
Like it's,
solo tour, right? Like in is it
well,
Wilco or is it oh it is
no,
Wilco. Yeah.
yeah, so it's Wilco. It opens with them in, I don't know if it's Tulsa, Oklahoma or something, in a dance hall. And I forget the song that's just got the most exquisite guitar solo. Um, uh, it's terrible. I'm finding it harder and harder to remember song titles, but it's a sound check that they do at the very beginning of the DVD, and it's just such a beautiful sound check. And then there's just lots of pastiches, a pastiche of, driving between gigs and these gorgeous like kind of sun setting and everything, and then Wilco music in the background. It's almost like it's not a traditional documentary. It's more kind of a like a sensory experience of a tour, and you kind of feel like you're along and on board with them, like on the tour bus and then seeing the shows.
Thanks for reminding me of that. I have that. I watched it like once when it came out, but that was a while ago. Yeah.
That performance that kicks off that DVD to me is one of the great Wilco performances. I think it's fabulous. And they show that it's an empty hall. It looks like an old country music hall, and they've got kind of the 8 by 10 glossies of all of these sort of old country stars from the 40s and 50s, that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
it's really very evocative. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful sequence.
I'm gonna look for that for sure. I'm pretty sure I still have
Yeah,
that.
hopefully you enjoy it.
Oh, and I thought of the band I'd like to see from
Good, good.
Floyd, Pink Floyd. I'm like
Ah.
been listening to them and I listened to all 15 of their records and ranked them. Yeah. Pink Floyd. The question would be which tour? I think maybe Animals. Or before Animals, maybe either Animals or Wish You Were Here. But yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah,
I regret not seeing them at that time. I used to live in Montreal. Montreal had a real love affair with Pink Floyd, and they played the Olympic Stadium there. And I don't know why I didn't go to see them then, but oh well. Can't go to
yeah,
everything.
yeah, right. Yeah.
Final question.
Okay.
What's the meaning of life?
Oh no.
I want to leave my guests with existential angst at the end of our
Oh
interview.
boy. I sometimes think it's to make an impact however small, you know. I mean, like changing one person, being I mean, love, I think, is if you want to just say like one word. But I think it's like trying to create a little beauty in the world, maybe. And that could be like through your art or through your relationship or your family, um, adding to the world in some small way, you know, leaving more like if you go camping, you know, leaving it better than you found it, you know, just I don't know. Beyond that, I mean, yeah, I think it's just being a good person, but not necessarily in a like a religious way or just yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very
Thank
much. Thank you very much for participating. There's no
Yeah,
wrong answer on that
absolutely.
last one.
What's that?
There's no wrong answer on that
No, I
last question.
suppose nobody has a grade book for that one.
No. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.